her knowledge and skill set by attending and presenting at various niche courses and conferences.
A rich and diverse industry experience of 18 years adorns her cap, and she keeps adding many feathers to her cap every passing season with the projects she takes up and delivers efficiently. She is associated as a consultant with Maternal and Child Care Hospital, Multi-Specialty Clinic, School for Autistic Children, Institute for Mental and Behavioral Sciences, NGO for Special Needs Children, and has many more affiliations to her credit, besides running her flagship enterprise, Nutrospect. At Nutrospect, she, along with her team, provides nutrition services to the general population and also provides skill enhancement training to dietitians, nutritionists, and other healthcare professionals in niche areas of healthcare practices. We welcome you, ma'am.
Now, I'm pleased to invite a strong personality who is known to be highly organized and disciplined person and cares for her students' intellectual and emotional well-being. She believes in providing a learning space to children that offer both freedom and responsibility that would allow them to blossom into self-motivated, balanced, open-minded individuals and learners for life. She is none other than our own Dr. Abhilasha Gautam ma'am, Principal of AIE, to welcome our guest speaker of the day. Ma'am, please take over the platform.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you for such a lovely introduction and for such a lovely welcome. You have made my day. Thank you so much. God bless you. And today, as we all inputs for the growth of.
I hope my screen is visible. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you so much. Thank you. So we'll be starting off today by talking about a very, very special area which is so much in talks today because of the increasing prevalence, right? Autism spectrum disorder. So when we start off, this is a belief that I generally like to pass on to whosoever I address, that every time you eat is an opportunity to nourish your body. So don't waste any of the opportunities when you get to nourish your body. Eat your food with a lot of positive thoughts and try to imbibe all the positive energy that your food can transmit to you. I would want to first of all bring about the question why. Why is it necessary to talk about nutrition in terms of autism spectrum disorder? We all know, like I think we have a lot of special educators and the ones who are training to become special educators, and of course, few who will be going ahead and delivering education to a lot of young children out there. So it is important to talk about nutrition because nutrition plays a key role in the development and growth of every child. When it comes to neurodiverse populations, especially so in the case of autism spectrum disorder, it becomes symptoms. Okay, so our food intake impacts the nutritional status. By nutritional status, I mean to say the level of nutrition that you are having, the level of nutrients that are there in the body, are there in the optimum ranges. How do we do that nutritional status? BMI. BMI is a ratio of weight divided by common manifestation in case of autism is of the abrupt BMI. We see a change in the BMI very abruptly. Until the age of 4 to 5, the child may be underweight, and after the age of 5, the child may tend to put on a lot of weight and may show us on a higher range. Due to these food sensitivities, their food is very limited, because of which they are consuming only a specific type of nutrients in those specific amounts over the day, and days after days and months after months, they are consuming the similar kind of food. Because of this pattern, their weight tends to be on a lower side when they are until the age of 5 years. But as the macronutrient, I mean to say carbohydrate, fats, and proteins, as the macronutrient intake varies, and we begin to see that the macronutrients are not meeting up the requirement with the changing age. So the children tend to begin consuming more of carbohydrates, less of proteins, less of fats, because of which due to high carbohydrate intake, their weight tends to increase and goes beyond the expected ranges. Okay, so from underweight, they tend to shift to obesity from the age of 5 to 8 years. So that is how abruptly the BMI changes in case of autism spectrum. The another marker that MUAC is a very strong tool that we use generally to assess the nutritional status in children. Why is it important? Because it gives us an understanding of how much of muscle mass is gathering around this particular area. So we have seen that when we do the nutritional assessment of children on this autism spectrum, we do see that children below the age of 5 years generally tend to have low MUAC scores as compared to the population that is non-autistic. Now, the third important marker for us is frequent infections and GI disturbances, which are very, very common manifestations in case of autism spectrum disorders. These are a couple of studies that I found interesting, and I think that would be helpful to all of you also. That why should we be talking about nutritional status and nutrition in terms of autism spectrum disorder? So this was a study conducted in like 2015. It's a report actually where it was found that there was a consensus that children with autism have selective eating patterns. We all know that food neophobia, limited food repertoire, and sensory issues. Although inadequate micronutrients, but adequate macronutrient intakes are increasingly reported. That's how it changes. With increased affiliation to carbohydrate-rich foods, the intake of micronutrients, by micronutrients I mean to say vitamins and minerals, micronutrient nutrient intakes deplete and macronutrient intakes increase. Okay, and there are inconsistent results about the extent of and type of nutrient deficiencies because of this disparity. Now, this was one study, and then there was one another interesting study, which is a very recent study. It is published in 26 in August 2022 only. That higher autistic traits were associated with lower BMIs and specific dietary patterns, higher in simple carbohydrates and lower in unprocessed proteins. Okay, so that is why we say that nutritional status is very, very important. So for us to bring about the changes that we are looking forward to in the autistic population through the therapies that we are giving, through the different types of special education that we are giving, we are looking forward to the development of the cognitive skills. We are looking forward to the development of social skills. We are looking forward to the development of the behavioral skills. But all these skills are narrowed down to one single thing, which is the nutrition. If the nutrition is faltered, then the outcomes of these results, these therapies are hugely impacted. Now, when we talk about autism, there are several trends that are flowing. There is GFCF diet, there is Navy-check protocol, there is low carbohydrate diet, there is keto diet. There are several diets that are popular, and some of them have shown results also. But due to the uh, uh, wide spectrum that autism is, the we cannot say that one particular diet or one particular diet trend can be the one which can be given to all the children. So it has to be with every, like as Jyoti rightly said in the very beginning, that when you see one child on the autism spectrum, you have seen just one child on the autism spectrum. And this is a very famous saying by Temple Grandin, which is a very, very popular researcher, author, and worker in the area of autism spectrum. She herself happens to be on the autism spectrum, and she has done a huge body of work. So as she has rightly said, that when we see one child on the autism spectrum, it is just one child that we have seen on the autism spectrum. So we cannot actually go ahead with one blanket approach for the people on the autism spectrum. Okay. So, to begin with, I would just want to briefly touch upon the basics of nutrition before we talk about the therapeutic part. So, Just if you just kind of recall your school days and think about class 5th 6th 7th, where we studied about the types of foods. There are energy giving, bodybuilding, and protective foods. I wouldn't be going too deep into this, but definitely I would want you all to remind all of you about this. So energy giving foods are required for sustenance, bodybuilding foods are required for growth, protective foods are basically required for immunity and for the integrity of the body. And energy giving foods are majorly carbohydrates and fats because these are easily available energy sources. Bodybuilding foods are majorly proteins, and vitamins and minerals comprise the protective group. Now, apart from these three groups, which are classified, I would want to add up prebiotics and probiotics and water to it because of the importance that they have in our specific condition. Okay, so prebiotics and probiotics are majorly fiber and fermented foods, and water is definitely the plain water that we consume, or water that comes in the form of other fluids like milk or charge or juices, whatever it may be. So, macronutrient distribution generally, which is recommended for everyone, is that the 15% of the diet should comprise proteins, 25 to 30% of the diet should comprise of fat, and 55 to 60% should comprise the carbohydrate. Now, the type of protein, type of fat, and type of carbohydrate is also very, very important. And we will be talking about it. But just to convert this pie chart into a pyramid, which is easier for us to understand, this is how the diet of a child should generally look like. There should be cereals, there should be enough fruits and vegetables, there should be optimum amount of dairy or other sources of protein, and the fats, oils, and sugars should be sparingly present in the diet. And this is a healthy food plate concept that was introduced a couple of years back for practical applicability of the pie chart and the pyramid that we talk about. And how a good healthy food plate should look like is this, which is a very, very, our traditional Indian vegetarian food plate. Our Indian vegetarian food is very, very balanced. The thing that we need to keep in mind that is that fiber and protein should also be a part of the thali. So portion control meal plates are very good way of bringing about the required changes in the food patterns. Now, just going a little more deeper into this, that each of the nutrient that we have talked about carbohydrate, protein, fat, then vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, water. All of these have specific roles to play, and everything is abundantly available. The only thing that we need to do is to find out where we have to get it from. So we all know the functions of carbohydrates, we all know how important it is, and we all know that they also serve as prebiotics. Now, what are prebiotics? So basically, we classify carbohydrates into two types: simple and complex. Simple are the ones which are widely abundant in the forms of sugars, in the form of fructose, which is present, again a sugar, and present in fruits. Then in the form of the lactose, which is again a kind of a sugar present in milk. The starch, which is again a combination of different types of sugars. Okay, so all of these are types of carbohydrates that are available to us. Simple are the ones which are single or the double units, which we call as monosaccharides and disaccharides. Lactose, the milk sugar, happens to be a disaccharide. Something like glucose, which we find almost everywhere. Something like fructose, which we find in the fruits. These happen to be the single units or the monosaccharides. These are very, very rapidly absorbed in the body and can release energy very, very quickly. Okay, then there is a different type of carbohydrate which we call as the complex carbohydrate. Why do we call it a complex carbohydrate? Because these are long chains of sugars. Okay, it's not very easy to break them down because they are very, very long chains. So sometimes they remain undigested and the body is not able to break it down completely, and they remain in the intestine, and that is what we call as roughage or the fiber. Okay, so this roughage of fiber which remains undigested in the body serves as the food for the bacteria which are present in our gut. Okay, and because they serve as a food for the gut bacteria, they are also called as prebiotics. We will be getting into detail of the prebiotics and probiotics later on. Then the second macronutrient is the protein, which is again a very, very essential nutrient, because it is required for growth and development, it is required for immunity, it is required for thousands of body processes that keep on going inside us. It is required for neurotransmission also. It is required for the release of energy. Okay, and when in certain forms of diet where carbohydrates are very, very low, proteins also serve as the energy suppliers. Okay, there are again two types of proteins, complete and incomplete. Complete is the protein which has all the 9 essential amino acids. I hope you understand that there are two different types of amino acids, essential and non essential amino acids. Non essential amino acids are the ones which our body can produce. Okay, while essential amino acids are the ones which our body cannot produce and we need to consume them. Okay, that is why they are essential. Okay, so the foods that contain all the 9 essential amino acids like eggs are complete proteins, and the foods that do not have all essential amino acids, they may be lacking in one or more of the essential amino acids, are the incomplete amino acids. Most commonly are cereals and proteins. Cereals and pulses are classified into incomplete proteins. Okay, but we can definitely improve or complete the protein of the meal by combining them well. Okay, like dal and chawal or khichdi, where we have a dal and a rice. Okay, so there is a lack of specific essential amino acid in rice, and there is a lack of a specific amino acid in dal. Now when we combine rice and dal, the both of them, tend to complete the essential amino acid profile. All the 9 essential amino acids, the one lacking in rice comes from the dal, and the one lacking in dal comes from the rice. So that's how it gets completed. So this is just an example of how we can enhance the protein quality of the meals, and how we can complete the essential amino acid profile even if the person is a pure vegetarian, like cereals and nuts, pulses and nuts. So all these are different ways in which we can complete the protein quality. Okay, these are certain examples that I thought may be helpful for you. Something like a sattu paratha, or something like a dry fruit laddu, rajma rice or dal rice kind of a combination, then hummus and pita, or maybe a khichdi. All of these are different ways in which we are combining cereal along with pulse to complete the amino acid profile of the meal. Okay, next coming to fats. Fats are a concentrated source of energy. They give us 9 kilocalorie per gram. Apart from giving energy, they have very, very important roles in the functioning of the nervous system. They help in the formation of the myelin sheath. If we study neuron, which is the nerve cell, it is like kind of I would say, if you see this pencil, if this is inside the dendrite, then above this dendrite there is a covering. Okay, this covering is called as myelin sheath. So myelin sheath formation happens when there is good amount of fat and the essential fatty acids which are required for the formation of the myelin sheath. Why is myelin sheath important? Because myelin sheath is helps in appropriate conduction of the nerve impulse. Okay, and which is actually very, very important when we talk about neurodegenerative diseases or the neurodiversity or the autism spectrum disorder. Okay, then another important function that fats perform is to modulate the genetic expression. At the level of the genes, fats do perform very, very essential roles, like just like certain vitamins which are again essential for the gene transcription. It works as a solvent for many, many nutrients. We know about the fat soluble and water soluble vitamins. It helps in the structuring of the cell membrane. Okay, so all of these functions are performed essentially by fat. So, fat should definitely be a part of the diet, and especially so in the case of children who are developing, who are growing. Fats have to be essentially a part of the diet. An extra dose of fat is always a good thing. A good quality fat is always a good thing to do for children. Now, fat again, as I told you, there are two types of fat: good fats and bad fats. Good fats, why do we call them good? Is because they help in the formation. They help in the formation of HDL. HDL is high density lipoprotein, which is considered to be a good kind of a fat because of its cardioprotective role. It helps to preserve the health of the heart and the blood vessels. And the another type of fat is the bad fat, which contains majorly of the trans fatty acids, which are present in margarine, dalda, sandwich spreads. Which why do we call it bad fat? Because it increases the formation of LDL and VLDL in the body, which has a negative impact upon the cardiac health. Okay, again, the type of fat that we consume becomes very, very important because of the presence of MUFA, PUFA, or saturated fat or trans fat in the source of the fat that we are consuming. We should be including nuts and oil seeds. We should prevent refrying and reusing of the oils, and we should be using desi ghee on an everyday basis for the anti-inflammatory properties of the fat. Next, coming to vitamins. Again, vitamins have essential roles in the release of energy. They are anti-inflammatory. They are immunity boosters. They help to optimize brain health and function. We will be getting deeper into the specific nutrients which are required for the neuronal functioning. But this is just a brief of all that we are doing. And vitamins, again, there are two types of vitamins: fat soluble and water soluble, which I just told you about. Vitamins that are significant for brain are folic acid, neural tissue, folic acid, which is required for the neural tissue formation and maintenance. We all know that when a woman is pregnant, she is specifically given folic acid supplements to support the development of the neural tube. Neural tube is the tube which will be forming the entire nervous system of the baby. Okay, so folic acid is vital. Vitamin B1, B6, and B12 are required for conduction of nerve impulses. Vitamin A is essential for sight. Vitamin C, D, E, all of these vitamins have neuroprotective effect. They protect the health of the neurons. Neuron is one cell that does not regenerate. Okay, like in most of our body cells kind of regenerate. Some cells die, another cells come and replace those cells, right? But in case of nervous system, neurons are the cells which are only formed once in the lifetime, and they are not replaced. So it is very, very essential to protect these cells for the lifelong, and that is why it is essential to consume all of these vitamins in adequate amounts for optimum health of the neurons and the nervous system. Minerals, again, there are several functions that minerals performs. Majorly the structural integrity of the entire body, the homeostasis, the electrolyte balance, the fluid and electrolyte balance of the body. They help in transport, excretion. They help a lot in neural functioning. The calcium magnesium pathway is very, very vital part of the neural conduction. And they also help support respiration. They help in maintaining pH, forming hemoglobin, and a lot of functions are performed by minerals. But some of the minerals that again are essential for the health of the brain are calcium and magnesium, zinc, iron, and selenium. Now, talking about the prebiotics and probiotics. Now, as I told you earlier, that prebiotics are the fibers that come from the food, and they serve as the substrate for the gut bacteria. Okay, and probiotics are the live bacteria that we consume in the form of in the form of fermented foods, like curd or chaach or idlis or dosa or pickles or kimchi. All of these are sources of probiotics. Now, why are prebiotics and probiotics important? They are essential for the gut health. They ensure growth and propagation of good gut bacteria. Now, I hope you all understand that there are hundreds, thousands of strains of bacteria that inhabit our entire body. On the surface of the skin, in our buccal cavity, in our nasal cavity, in our vaginal area, and all of the areas of the body which are exposed to external environment, there is a colony of microbes residing over there. Likewise, there is a colony of microbes residing in our gastrointestinal system, specifically in the intestinal region. So, the colony residing in the this intestinal region is called basically as the gut microbiome. Microbiome is basically a term that comprises of the microbes plus their genetic material. So that is what a microbiome is. So this microbiome is again has a huge function in our health. Okay, we'll be talking about it in a moment. Okay, and now, when we talk about the microbial colony, there would be good kind of microbes and there would be bad kind of microbes, right? Both of them would be there. So we have to have both good and the gut bad microbes in the right balance. There has to be a proportion that has to be maintained of the good and the bad bacteria for us to say that our gut microbiome is good. Okay. Now, how will we ensure that our gut microbiome is good? It will be through the right kind of foods that we are consuming. Enough fiber, enough proteins, enough good fats, enough water. All of this is essential for the microbial colony to prosper, and if we want to say that we have a high amount of good gut bacteria, then we have to consume a lot of prebiotics and probiotics in the diet, and maintain gut integrity. Now, what happens is, if there is an imbalance in good and bad bacteria, the bad bacteria will begin to infest and infect the gut membrane, right? The intestinal membrane. Now, when there is an infection or an infestation in the gut membrane, there would be damages, right? And there would be the integrity of the gut would be lost. Because of the loss of the integrity, there can be channels that would be open. Okay, I will be talking about this. I have a slide for this particular condition. Okay, we'll be talking about it. And but it is important for us to know that prebiotics and probiotics are important to maintain the gut integrity as well. Okay, now the microbial colony that resides in our gut is also interacts with our brain. Now, how does that interaction happen? Is through the gut brain axis, microbial gut brain axis. Okay, a lot of the genetic material of the microbes present affect the intestinal membrane. They cause the secretion of neurotransmitters. These neurotransmitters cross the blood brain barrier and reach the brain, where again they can modulate the function of the brain. Okay, and this is how the entire cycle goes. And if our gut health is good, if we have a good colony of gut bacteria, then the neurotransmitter secretion remains well and our neuronal functioning also remains well. But if the microbial colony is not good, then in that case the neurotransmitter secretion is impacted, and we can see it manifest in the form of different psychological disorders and in the form of different degenerative disorders that we see. Okay, so prebiotics and probiotics help us support good brain health, and that also helps us support the neuronal functioning. Okay, Now coming to the prebiotics. I have actually spoken a lot already. So prebiotics are the food for the gut bacteria. They provide energy for the gut cells. Approximately, previously it was considered that fiber does not provide any energy because it does not get digested. But the fibers that do get digested by the gut bacteria, and they release some amount of energy, which is approximately 2 kilocalorie per gram, and this energy is utilized by the intestinal cells for their sustenance. Okay, the quality of the fiber that we consume modulates the type of microbial colony. I will be telling about the different types of prebiotics and how they impact the gut colony. Okay, they affect the neurotransmission and behavior, like just I told you. Okay, these are the different type of prebiotics that fructo oligosaccharide. These stimulate the lactobacilli, which we count in the good bacteria. Okay, so these very recently between H is the type of bacteria that they impact. A very recent study which I have conducted with a doctor, which is about still to publish. It is an ongoing study, and these are the live strains of good bacteria which is present. All of these are sources of ticks, and then again spectrum, and then support this supplement, this seed that has grown, that has gone inside. For it to prosper, we need to support it with good quality prebiotics and probiotic foods. Okay, then we come to the water. Water is non-nutritive. It does not provide any energy or calories, but definitely is very, very essential because the entire body processes are dependent upon. So a lot of things happen, and the dilemma with that they abdomen, the child would not be able to tell prima facie that the child that he or she is having pain in the abdomen. Okay, so but the if that's how the problem remains unrecognized for a long period of time, and we have to make out, we have to check, we have to see and observe the child for his behavior, for his eating pattern, for his bowel movement, to understand if the child is having any. Now, what nutrients are of significance in case of digestive disorders? Primarily water. Water intake is very, very important, and in most of the cases, when parents come to me and I take the dietary recall of the parents of the children, I see that water is something that they do not even happen to mention or do not feel that it could be important. They would be focusing upon omega-3 fatty acids, they would be focusing upon proteins, but they may not be focusing upon water at all. So, but if the child is not consuming enough water, no matter even in a normal scenario, if a neurotypical person is consuming a good amount of food and all the nutrients and everything is there, and water is depleted, the person will definitely get constipated. Now, if water is good in the body, then not just the body processes are fine, digestive health also remains good. And if we can restore the digestive health of the child, half of the problems are solved. There it is. Okay, so the first thing that I asked back to me after, they have very restrictive food choices. Okay, they have a specific tendency towards eating foods that are richer in carbohydrates, richer in simple carbohydrates. Because of that, the consumption of fiber is at microbial colony, and definitely we'll be seeing that in due course the child will be having a depleted microbial colony. Okay, now coming to the other things are vitamin A, C, and zinc. Why are these important? Because all of these are helpful in reducing the inflammation. Why I'm talking about inflammation is because when the gut microbial colony is going to get disrupted, the colony of bad bacteria is going to be increased. So they are going to infect and infest the intestinal membrane, and because of which inflammation, restoration, and for the management of the symptoms and how it can impact the brain. Okay, so there is like a couple of decades back. This is although a very very recent advance of health microbiome is that the gut microbiome has the capacity to interact with our brain. How? By modulating the secretion of the neurotransmitters that is happening in the intestine, in our gut. Now, neurotransmitter. Now, when I say neurotransmitter, what do I mean? Neurotransmitter are the chemicals that help in the transmission, show the desired effect. Like you must be knowing about serotonin, you must be knowing about dopamine, you must be knowing about GABA. All of these are neurotransmitters. Okay, now they are neurotransmitters, but a lot of these neurotransmitters are released in our enteric system, and enteric is the gastric system. So enteric nervous system is very very has role in the overall manifestation of our socio psychological behavior. Okay, so if our gut microbial colony is good, the microbiome will not interfere with the secretion of the neurotransmitters, which will again impact the conduction of the signals from the brain to the adverse. So we see things, and because of several factors. Okay, most of the neurotransmitter I have already will be carried, and if effect that is desired. Okay, then there is alteration in the signaling part. These are the major glands of the body that secrete hormones to bring about the desired effect. It's that the food should be digested and has been broken. Typically passes from these tight junctions into the bloodstream. What will that bad microbe do? It will cause inflammation in the gastric mucosa. Because of that inflammation, the tight junctions between the cells kind of loosen out, and there is a passage which is created between the cells. Now once this passage is created, anything can go across this. Nutrients go can go, large particles of undigested material can go, microbes can pass, toxins can pass, anything and everything can pass through the loosened tight junctions. Now when these the bloodstream, they have the capacity to reach the brain, cross the blood brain barrier, and cause inflammation in the brain as well. When this inflammation will reach the brain, it will start to impact the secretion of the signals, like the that are going to affect the different glands of the body and different parts of the body, and cause adverse body reactions and adverse behaviors, adverse symptoms. Now, what nutrients are important in case of leaky gut? Like as I have been telling you for the last 5 to 10 minutes, and prebiotics are definitely essential. Vitamin A, C, and zinc are definitely essential. Vitamin B group are again essential for the growth and repair of the intestinal cells. The second important thing that shown by the child, okay, it is not deliberate. Okay, they are not acting it, they are actually facing the problem. Why? Because they have higher sensitivities to a lot of things. They have enhanced sensitivities to the texture, they have enhanced sensitivities to the smell, they have enhanced sensitivity to the appearance, they have enhanced sensitivity to the color, they have enhanced sensitivity to the taste. So because of all of these enhanced sensitivity, there is a very limited amount of food that they can consume easily. So because of this, they have very very restrictive food choices. Because of these restrictive food choices, they are definitely not exposed to a lot of different kinds of foods, and which and this is one part, restrictive eating. Second is the improper eating habits. Now this is some anxiety and excitation all the time. They cannot sit at one place for a long period of time. Okay, and reason is, when the parents get to know of the spectrum, that the child is on the autism spectrum, they, as like the psyche of every parent would be to give the best to the child in the shortest possible of time. Okay, so they would be opting for a lot of therapies. The entire schedule of the child, the entire day of the child becomes fixed. They have to go to the school, they have to go for speech therapy, they have to go for physiotherapy, they have to go for occupational therapy. So entire day is kind of cluttered with a lot of things. So they are left with very little time to focus upon eating. Okay, and because of that, the eating pattern, meals, schedules, eating schedules are impacted hugely. Because of this impact, again, the kind of food that the child would be eating is affected. Again, the schedules, the time that the child requires with the food is not available to him. So the child wouldn't be able to develop the relationship with the food, and becomes a vicious cycle. Okay. Now, third important thing in case of autism spectrum disorder is giving into the food choices. We now know that the children on the autism spectrum have a specific fascination towards the foods that are very rich in simple carbohydrates. Okay, now because of this fascination and because the parents want the happy. Okay, so if the child has shown a behavior which they are expecting the child to do, so a lot of parents I have seen, they kind of give the reward in terms of food. Like, if my child has written A, that's something we have been trying for almost months altogether, and the child was not being able to do that. Now the child has written A. I need to reward the child. So the reward would be a chocolate or a candy. Now, what is this doing? This is showing the child that the food that is rich in sugar is kind of something that I need to work for, and this is something that I should be getting. And it kind of has a wrong association with the kind of food. Okay, so food should not be used as a reward. That is one thing that I try to convey to all of the parents. The consequences of picky eating are malnutrition, very, very evident and very understandable, because there are very restrictive eating patterns, so because of which we see a lot of malnutrition. Then behavior issues are very common, because we know that a lot of dietary triggers are there, and there is compromise. Please let me know if I am running behind time and I need to speed up.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so yeah, yeah. So how much time do I have?
Uh, Ma'am, we will try to wind up in another 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, okay, I'll try to
We'll
do that.
address questions also. Right,
Sure,
ma'am.
sure. So a lot of them due to picky eating behavior, malnutrition, behavior issues, compromised immunity, and compromised milestones. Motor skills are affected. Attention deficit is very, very common. They will be having weak bones and muscles. Cognitive lag is something which, again, a lot of parents are bothered about. Okay, now apart from these things that are manifested, how can we address picky eating? So there has to be a specific strategy. Parents need to sit down with the dietitians, with the caregivers, plan out a specific schedules to address picky eating. They have reinforcement and motivation needs to be well. Has to be, you want the child to eat healthy, then if you are going to make a change in the diet that you are going to provide to the child, it is good that you keep the child informed, because these children are not very good with surprises. They will be them small doses of information about the change that is about to come in their schedule is what will prepare them well for the change that you are about to bring. Okay, and then mealtime rituals is something which I really tell all the parents to keep, because rituals are something that these children love, be it for anything, and likewise for the mealtime. So prepare a good mealtime ritual that improves the relationship of the child with you and also with the food. Okay, just to scale up a little bit, just as we talk about early intervention in case of neurodiverse condition, likewise we talk about early intervention in case of food behavior. Okay, so early intervention is really required, and there are certain elements that work really really well, are positive reinforcements, pre-planning, and ritual planned very very well. Prebiotic and probiotic inclusion, I cannot stop emphasizing enough of that. Increasing the water intake, supplementation whenever and wherever required, but definitely not without the consultation of the dietitian or the doctor who is treating the child, and having a scheduled day, giving them enough space, like putting the meal time also in the schedule is absolutely important. Okay. Eliminations are important. Some of the dietary elements can be potential triggers for the adverse behavior of the child. Sometimes some of the children are sensitive to gluten, others are sensitive to lactose, some of them are sensitive to soy. So all of these triggers should be kept in mind. There are sugars are very very potential triggers, so sugars definitely have to be reduced in the diet. And then again, things like flavoring agents, all of the artificial sweeteners, all of the preservatives are also triggers for the neuroinflammation. So these things should be kept in mind and should be avoided as much as possible. Try to stick to the home cooked food, and if you have to go ahead for the market bought food, then try to check out for the preservatives and the stabilizers, flavor enhancers, artificial sweeteners added into that particular food. HFCS, which is high fructose corn syrup, is again very very abundantly present in all the candies, all the chocolates, all the juices, all the beverages that are present on the shelf, and it is a potential neuro trigger. Okay, so do check out for HFCS. Do develop a habit of reading the labels. That is important. So label reading is something which everyone should learn. You people being the educators, it is important for you to teach the children about the nutrition labels. Okay, as you go out in the society and bring about the changes in the society, it is important for you to transmit the right information. Okay, surprises are something which the spectrum kids are not fan of, so keep them away from the surprises. You cannot mask the flavor, and because they have enhanced sensitivities, and they will definitely know whatever you are hiding. And avoid the screen while eating. Okay, these are certain eliminations that need to be brought about and which we need to be aware of. Okay, I have already spoken about it, and just I would want to sum it up that why do we talk about nutrition deficiency and gut dysbiosis are at the center of all the children on the spectrum. So immunodeficiency and dysbiosis have to be effectively managed, and improved outcomes of the therapies that the child is having in the entire day, in the entire schedule. The therapies outcomes, I have personally seen that the outcomes of therapies have improved. The psychologists do come back telling me that after the intervention, nutrition intervention for 3 months or 6 months, the child has begun to show a lot of change in terms of the outcomes. Okay, the modulation of the degree of the core deficits is again that we have begun to see with changes in the nutrition patterns. Takeaways for you should be that the food should be balanced, suited well, and planned as per the child's unique requirement. It is important for you to remember that you cannot, if my child is gluten sensitive, then your child will also be gluten. One child, another. Nutrition profiling is essential for all. Okay, supplementation is good and necessary in a lot of cases, and should be planned as per the requirement and only after nutrition profiling. It is important to create better relationships with the food, and trust me, the relationship with the food is the only thing by which we can be sure of good health in future. A sample plan, a very very basic sample plan. Do not think coming to you one. And I have not even mentioned the quantities of a lot of things, because I know that I think you all also understand that with age and the changing weight, the requirements of the nutrients changes, right? So this is again a very, very generalized diet plan. All right, just to bring it back to your mind that this session was just for the you maybe possibly be able to tell the people that how you can utilize the power of nutrition to modulate the symptoms. But definitely I think the best person to give the nutrition would be a dietitian or a nutritionist who is trained in treating the people on the autism spectrum. Okay, this is where you can get in touch with me. And thank you so much, everyone, for the patient listening. And my apologies for overshooting the time.
Now we will have a question answer session. Down syndrome. Over to you, ma'am.
Hmm. So Down syndrome, see, GI issues are categorized into different voting organs. So GI symptoms are not specific to any particular condition. Uh,
Ma'am, one more question we have. One of the ketchup, like tomato ketchup, to the children with
Tips, right? It may, if and if the recommend, but if the child is not the children on the autism spectrum for years altogether, you cannot withdraw it and then gradually try to change the consistency and the processing of the tomato sauce to make it preservative free for the child.
Thank you, ma'am, for answering the question. This will surely help in further execution. Thank you.
Okay, great. So if there is any other question.
No, ma'am. That's all.
All right,
So
great.
there are so many things in the world that could be invisible to the material eye. But when we take a moment to stop, to pause, to be present and notice them, that's gratitude. Now, for the vote of thanks, I would request Ms. Komal Chaudhary, Assistant Professor AIE, to present a vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for inviting. Educators and teachers have learned so much about this workshop and webinar. And I would like to thank respected principal ma'am, our faculties, and their participants and our co-anchors to make this webinar successful. Thank you so much, ma'am, for having it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Komal.
Thank you, Richa ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Abhilasha, for having me. It was a pleasure delivering the lecture. I know I took a lot of your time, but I think there is a still lot more that we can do in this particular area of
Well, sometimes more is less. And
yeah,
this is such a topic that it is very less communicated one.
absolutely,
We actually, in general scenario, we keep on talking about our general diets and keeping ourselves fit, but we just keep and for the
absolutely. And since you have students of special education also, so I think it is all the more important for them to learn about this.
it is very